Welcome to the Rhythm and Remedy podcast.
The time has come to share your thoughts, relive your moments, open up your heart with one and only Rhythm and Remedy. What's up, everybody? What's going on? We are back with another episode, Rhythm and Remedy, where music meets medicine. First of all, on behalf of all of the team here, I just want to welcome everybody who's either listening to this in the morning or in the afternoon or at night. All of your support has meant the world to us. And as you can actually see, we've made some revamps to the studio, a lot of improvements to the studio, and it's all because of the help of my father and my sister and also my brother. They really worked so hard on this, getting some really cool podcast mics. The Rhythm and Remedy logo, which is now a backdrop of the studio as well. So this is a huge chapter for the podcast, just going from a lot of the basics to a huge new chapter. So really grateful for all the support that we've been getting, and obviously from the family as well, who have obviously seen such wonderful support from all of you, and it's really become such a huge part of what I do. And I've touched on this in a lot of recent episodes where I've talked about, the sort of philosophical conversations that I've always wanted to get into. And spirituality is such a big part of my life. I've always just been trying to understand what spirituality is all about every single day. And, whether we follow faith or not, I think, the way that we feel and the way that we are able to embrace our emotions also means that we become so much more intuitive with ourselves. And I think that's a huge, big component of spirituality. And the guest that I really want to introduce today is someone who is super special to our family, a big sister to me. Her dad and my dad have been best friends for many years. We're basically all like family, and, we've done so much together, had so many great memories together. And she's had such a wonderful journey through all of her experiences. And obviously spirituality being such a big part of what she does now and the work that she does now. So really fortunate and very honored to introduce someone that I've wanted on for the longest time, Meenakshi Gulati. Thank you so much for coming on and being a part of this, Mini Didi.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jugpreet, for inviting me and giving me this platform to share it with you, because you are also someone very special to my heart and to our family's heart, as you know. This is my honor. So thank you so much for having me here.
No, absolutely. It's such a wonderful setup here. And it's so meditational, honestly. I was kind of thinking about this. One of the best things about this space is how, reflective and how meditational this can all be. And I think this is such a great space for spiritual conversation. So really, I wanted people to know about, the things that you've done and sort of where you wanted to start and where you wanted to start in terms of where we should take this conversation.
Beautiful. Do you want me to start from the beginning? Perhaps share a little bit of my background and
yes,
my
absolutely.
Journey? Thank you. So I didn't really know the term spirituality when I started. Well, yes. I did know it, but I didn't really understand it as deeply as I feel at the moment I'm beginning to understand it. And I'm saying beginning because there's just so much to learn in this universe.
It's very vast. Yes.
Absolutely. And we're all just students learning, every single day. So, just going back to my childhood, I just felt as a child, I have memories from as back as when I was 2 years old in my life. I remember people in the house. I remember being able to read energies and how I felt towards certain individuals in the house or visitors as compared to others. And while I did that, somehow being an introverted child, I was really quiet and shy. I also felt while growing up, I did feel my energies were a little bit different from others around me. And when I say different, I don't mean in any way that they were better than others, but I just felt they were different. So I was shy. I found it difficult at times to express myself. I think for the longest time, I had a fear of judgment. I'm talking about all of this because these are some of the aspects that I had to heal within myself. And hopefully, if I can inspire someone to do that for themselves,
of course.
the time is now. And I was extremely shy. So within group settings, I would never, ever share, how I felt about, whatever the discussions were about. Because I noticed when everyone was talking about how they felt about it, my opinion or my understanding of it was vastly different from how they were, viewing it. And I felt that I would be the odd one out. So I'd rather just be quiet and not be called out for that or not to be, called the odd man out.
Right.
So I steered clear of, conversations or participating. And I think that this took back a lot from my life, a lot from my energy to really bottle up. And so that's how my beginning, journey was. And so I went through school, through the educational, experiences. Pretty early in my life, I read books by Dr. Brian Weiss. He is a clinical hypnotherapist. Yeah. And he's written wonderful books on hypnotherapy and past life regressions and, about how people can actually heal their deep-rooted traumas by just accessing their past lives, because not all, but many of them might be rooted in past lives.
Right.
And I got really pulled, in that direction and to the field. And metaphysics is something that interested me since the beginning. I was really very interested in reading about, souls and what happens to people when they die. Where do they go? What happens to that energy? It never scared me or intimidated me. I was always very curious about it.
Right.
But it was always something that was on the back burner, because in those days, in the 1980s and 90s, you don't go up to your parents and say, I don't want to do this, that, I don't want to study what I'm studying and I want to be a hypnotherapist.
And especially in collective families like ours, right? Where
Correct.
Collectivism is such a big thing, where we are supposed to follow this sort of line and this tradition of whatever is expected of us is something that we have to do, right? So, I think you're absolutely right.
So we have that societal pressure and, expectations of others that we're always trying to fulfill all our lives, right? So that's, again, something that I had to work around for myself. Fast forward into life, got married, to a beautiful soul, my beautiful twin flame, and we've been blessed with wonderful children. And sometime around that as well, I tried meditating because somehow someone passed me some music CDs that were Buddhist chants.
Oh,
and
wow.
there was nothing written on it.
Incredible.
Right?
Yeah.
They really take you into a meditative state, whether you want to meditate or not. They really calm your heart, soul, mind. And so, I decided to just, give it a try and see what that was and how that felt. And I started meditating. It was a beautiful experience. And I noticed that, when I sat down and, went within, it gave me a lot of peace, things and situations, circumstances, people that were, worrisome, were not so worrisome anymore. And I could, relax and look at look at the situations from a different perspective, mostly positive.
Yeah.
And flowing, really beautiful.
Yeah.
So that was that. I didn't really take it too seriously. I tried it once in a while. Felt great. The music CD did not have anything written on it. There was no title or anything, so I didn't know what it was called.
Right.
And, in those days, we used to burn CDs and just share them, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So in 2014, my husband and I and our children, we decided to move to Canada. from our parent homeland, India.
Yeah.
And as we were moving, somehow that music CD was lost. And so sometime in 2015, I said, oh, I want to listen to that music again and I want to meditate, but I couldn't find it.
Yeah.
And there was no way of knowing what those chants were because there's nothing written on the CD, so I didn't remember anything of it.
Right.
And so I did start meditating somehow on, Om. I think I was looking for an external source that would soothe my mind and, help me, meditate. So coming to 2017, my husband and I were watching something on Netflix, and we said, let's watch something in common that we'll, enjoy together. And we were just browsing through, and we came through the Buddha series. Okay, so there was a series on Buddha, Gautam Buddha, which had, I think, 52 episodes. And the minute we saw it, we said, this is it. We're watching, okay? So we started watching, and we were on a roll. We didn't stop till we literally finished it. I don't think we took too long to finish it. As soon as that was done, I realized that that is what was missing in my life. Because one of the things that always bothered me a lot about my life was I felt that I was just flowing, but I didn't know where I was going. I didn't know what my destination was, what I was here to do. Am I making a difference?
Sort of like you didn't know what your purpose was.
Correct.
And you felt like you were just going with the flow, but what is it that you were actually meant to do?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you took to singing so early, Jugpreet, right? And
yeah, but it's funny you say that because, I mean, even for me until really recently, I started to really understand, like, what my purpose is, right? Because even when you get so locked up in music, sometimes you don't even think about that because you're performing, you're going to shows, right? Like you're practicing, like it all just becomes a part of a routine.
Correct.
And that routine becomes sometimes so emblematic of what you're doing, but you don't know exactly what you're doing. And sometimes you start to question yourself, like, what is it that I'm supposed to do? And am I actually going to be of any use? Sometimes you start to really think about that. And I think I've really just been looking at the collective world, through the lens of social media, but just even through conversations where I've heard people just talking about, how different faiths are not as good and how other faiths are better, and how we're becoming so divided, whether it's race or anything like that. And I think really what I wanted to do was not just write these sort of posts in 200 character limits or anything like that, right? Because a lot of these social media apps, you can't really do too much. Yes. And you don't also want to keep posting these smaller clips where anyone can interpret anything from those, reels or anything that you do. So I was like, okay, if I feel so bothered about these things, not necessarily even bothered, but wanting to share a different perspective on how we can all come together. I think that's the biggest purpose for me. It's through my music, obviously writing things that resonate with me. A lot of times before, what I was doing was, I felt like, oh, I wanted to do this genre and I want to do that genre of music. But really what's called to my soul is the music of pop, because I think pop really is so universal and it's so global. It's, easy for people to listen to, but you can also add your own things in it, and especially now. So I think that was my purpose for me, was to understand, hey, there's certain ways that you can share how you feel, or the pain that you feel, or the sorrow that you've dealt with, through expression of writing, but through the music that really calls to your soul. And I think, and obviously the podcast is a huge part of that, because I've always wanted to show that side of my personality. So I think you're right to say that, it takes a while for us to realize our purpose. And I think it also, depends on the trials and tribulations we go through.
Right.
So there is something that I did want to ask you before we got to the trials and tribulations part, because I did want to ask you about yours and pivotal points in your life. But before we obviously get there, there was something that you mentioned about your childhood, right? Where you grew up as a quiet child, where you felt like you were more of an introvert, but you could always pick up on these energies. Can you expand on that a little bit, in terms of how you picked up on those energies, how you felt around certain people, how you protected yourself against certain energies, and was there sort of anyone that you shared that with, and were you shut down or were you embraced for picking up on those energies? How did that all come together for you?
Yes, wow. So the picking up of energies was as early as when I was 2 or 3 years old. At least I have memories of that. So I don't think I had any words to articulate that to anyone.
Yeah.
But how I actually picked it up was by sensing and feeling the energies of other people. And even now more so, but now learn to direct it more and, learn to work around it. So if I was standing in presence of someone who is not at, highest love light or consciousness level, someone who's like darker than, you'd be comfortable standing with or, connecting with, basically, I could sense that as nervousness and anxiety, mostly in my stomach and my belly.
Wow. So is it did you sense it through their voice, through their aura? How did that work?
It was just something that my body picked up on, basically, from their energy field.
So it's almost like intuitiveness.
Correct. And sometimes it doesn't have to be even the voice. Even if I just saw them or they entered the room, my body would sort of just, become stiff, or I would understand that there's something not so right about this person's energy.
Wow.
Of course, at that point, I didn't know what that meant. I was still trying to figure out. But I felt uncomfortable. That's something that I could definitely tell. So, that's how it is. And even now I can. But at this moment, through all the teachings and everything that my divine guides have taught me, I've just learned how to work around it and use it as a strength for myself. So it helps me a great deal to do my healing sessions.
Yeah.
Because now I'm able to pick up on what, the clients are looking for, because I can feel what's in their system, what's bothering them, because I feel it within me. The term is an intuitive empath. So that's what this term is. And I think there are a lot of intuitive empaths in our world right now.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I think we often overlook it because we feel like it's not really anything, right? Or it's maybe I'm an intuitive empath, but maybe that doesn't make sense to a lot of people, right? So for you, was it when you got to a certain age, were you ever comfortable sharing that with anybody? I don't know about this person, or were you ever comfortable sharing that with your immediate family at some point? Before you actually understood what spirituality was?
I was never comfortable. I was not comfortable sharing it with anyone because I didn't know if they would really understand it to the level that I understood.
Right.
And I think I didn't have the capacity of words, language, or frequency to explain it to them, because I was myself trying to understand what it really meant. So I didn't. I think almost up to the point when I met my husband.
Yeah.
And I think somewhere he's been pivotal in expanding that within me and giving me that voice and really activating my throat chakra. He's really, really responsible for that.
Wow.
He's really helped me with that.
Yeah.
So it's not until I met him that I really expressed, how I felt about things.
That's really interesting. So he was the first one then that you were able to express that energy with, I don't feel comfortable around this sort of thing, or this person. Oh wow. Yes. So
I might have. I don't have clear memory of it now, but if at all I did ever, speak about energies of people and, in your family circle, if you do that, no one's going to listen to you, right?
How did that emotionally affect you? When you were growing up, how did it make you feel emotionally, and how were you able to keep yourself in check?
Well, that's what we've been all working on, right? It's the self-worth issues that come up then, because you start doubting yourself.
Yeah, I know.
You wonder if you're correct. You wonder if you're doing the right thing. that's how self-worth and doubt creeps in. That's how even the children, we have so many star children here today on earth, for specific missions, and they know so much, but it's when the parents don't understand them or their energies, and they say, oh, but you're just creative, you're just imagining this, just let it be, you can go give, hug that uncle, or hug that auntie, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But the child's not feeling good being around certain people, right?
Yeah.
So it's all about understanding and giving them that voice and allowing them to express themselves. And I've basically made sure that I don't turn around and do that. So I've given a lot of importance to my children. And if they have anything to share about energies, anything that they're feeling, anything they need to understand, I've made sure that I've given them an open platform to talk.
Yeah.
And that if they have to even give feedback to, my husband and I, we take that.
Yeah. Was that, so, you brought up your children. Was that always something that you ingrained in them from the beginning? Because like you said, like when you moved here, I think that's when you were starting to really understand what spirituality was about. And in 2017, you watched that Netflix documentary,
Right.
or that series. And so was it like that from the beginning with your children, or was that a relationship you tried to form with them over time, just with understanding the spiritual aspect of it?
That's a beautiful question. I've always had a very open and honest relationship with my kids.
Yeah.
I don't tell them that I'm their friend. I am their mom.
Yeah.
But I always give them an open platform to be honest and, come clean about anything they want to talk about, if they have any doubts, to the extent that I've made it very clear to them that if they ever make a mistake, there's nothing wrong in it, and that they can, their dad and I are the safest people that they can talk to.
Yeah.
And
that's so important to have that safe space.
Correct.
Yeah.
So instead of judging them, we could perhaps look at what happened with a different perspective and see what has to be done in the next, in the best, to be on the best timeline for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, I think that's beautiful. And so, like I mentioned before, the trials and tribulations that you
Yes.
had to go through. What were some of those? What were some pivotal moments throughout this journey? Do you feel like spirituality has solidified more of the relationships that you've had? Do you feel like it's isolated some of the relationships you've had, or made some of them non-existent? And how has that been very scary to get through? I know that's quite a loaded question, but wherever you want to take that, or wherever
Yes.
you want to go with that.
Thank you for that. I think that's a very, very important question, and it's vast.
Yeah.
So, spirituality actually, if you truly, let go and embrace what has to come forth through your experiences, takes you through a lot of experiences. You have your highs, you have your lows, you have moments when you have magical experiences, and you also have moments when you're down on your knees, going through dark night of the soul.
Yeah.
All of those experiences, right?
Yeah, you do.
And so your frequency goes through a lot of change, right? Just like music, we also have frequency in and around us in our electromagnetic field that is around us, which is the auric field. So when you start, I'm not saying just in case of spirituality, even if someone is religious and they enjoy chanting, right?
Yeah.
It basically does a lot to increase their vibrational frequencies. And when your vibrational frequencies change, I'm not saying they get better again, because I'm definitely not in favor of, putting anyone on pedestals, including anyone if they're spiritual or religious.
Yeah.
Everyone's equal. But your vibrational frequency changes, right? And people...
Like you evolve.
You evolve,
Yeah.
correct.
Not that you become unequal, but you evolve.
You evolve.
Yeah.
You change also from the dynamics that you held earlier, right? Like
Right.
as children or while growing up. So all of that changes. It changes your frequency. And as that happens, it's a natural phenomenon for people to leave your life, because then you're not a match, because, they're on a different journey and you're on a different journey,
Yeah.
right? So they're looking for something else. So their vibrational frequency would be different they're vibrating at a different frequency, and then you're doing something else. So sometimes that decision is conscious, and at times it's just an unconscious, evolution, part of the path that happens, where some people just naturally drop off, or you naturally drop off because you feel you have nothing in common to discuss anymore.
Right.
What do you talk about?
Yeah.
As against some of the relationships, they might become thicker because of understandings, or maybe they're on the same path, maybe not.
Yeah.
But as long as they're conscious beings, and you're able to, have an open relationships in terms of being able to share where you stand, what you feel, and not only that, if they are open to knowing you, if they're open to understanding, the process that you're going through, because a lot of people shut down when they see things changing in someone.
Yeah.
So also along the way, because you're working on yourself, like for me, I'll share my example. I had to work on activating my throat chakra, being able to be my true authentic self. And in doing so, I had to express myself.
Right.
So whether someone likes it or not, I started sharing how I felt about things. And I felt confident in doing so because I had discovered my self-worth.
That's so beautiful. And so that throat chakra process, like, what was that like? Like, can you expand a bit on what that means?
So if we look at the various chakra system, the chakra system that we have, would you like me to just quickly go through it?
Yeah, sure.
So on top of our head is the crown chakra, right on top.
Okay.
All of your head is the crown chakra. It is our connection to the divine and to the higher realms. It's also the chakra which has our head, our brain, and our ego mind, which is a logical thinking mind, which we say is to the left side of the brain, right?
Yeah.
Which is a logical mind. And then to the right side of the brain, the right hemisphere, is basically the spiritual connection to the divine. And we're looking at balancing both, because you want to be able to connect with the higher realms at the same time, because we are, we're living life here on Earth, which is, the third dimensional planetary sphere that we are on right now. We need to be able to communicate and live our lives here, our day-to-day lives.
Yeah.
So the ego mind is very important for us. A lot of people do say, you need to kill your ego and get rid of your ego. But the ego mind is what basically protects us. It takes care of us because it actually triggers emotions that bring intuition to the forefront. And it warns us of dangers, and it does a lot of good stuff for us. So all we want to do is basically balance the ego.
Right.
So that's the crown chakra. And then if you come down to the forehead, and from the top center of your head to the center of your forehead, if you make a perpendicular triangle, right at the center of your head are the pineal glands, which basically is in energetically, we call it the third eye, which is your all-seeing eye, which is the true eyes. The physical eyes that we see with are good enough to see what we can see here. But your third eye helps you to see everything beyond the physical.
Right.
Helps you see, sense, feel, know, touch, taste, all of that, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's really interesting that you mentioned that, because, obviously for myself, who,
Yes.
a person who can't see, I think in some way spiritually, I've always relied on that third eye, because naturally I just feel like, whether it's been my environment or, my sensory sort of, I don't want to say intelligence, but
Yes, it is.
my sensory awareness, is pretty high, because I haven't had the ability to see, and so a lot of the sort of sensory awareness with my hearing and the sense of smell and taste and everything. I feel like I've been able to be so much more intuitive because of that. When I'm walking, I feel like the different textures of the ground beneath my feet, for example, or, when I'm sitting at a table, I can feel the different textures of the table. But I think, us humans, if we actually start really embracing our sensory experiences, do you feel like when we start to really do that, that it helps us become more spiritual, because we are so much more intuitive and, so much more self-compassionate?
I think it's really beautiful that you brought that up, Jugpreet. I was actually planning to talk to you about that as well, because that's something that I think it's a gift that you brought with you when you came into the world in this lifetime, especially. I'm sure you had it before as well. and pretty early on, you would have connected with your third eye because everything, for you, it's been a major source of connecting to energies, right? I'm pretty sure that you were able to sense energies as well as because you're not looking at people physically. You're not looking at their skin color. You're not looking at what they look like, what they're wearing. You basically sense their energies and you feel how you feel in their presence, correct?
Yes. Yes, that's exactly it.
So that is a beautiful strength that you bring with you. And that's exactly what it is. When you close your physical eyes and you look within and you use your third eye, the pineal gland, your inner all-seeing eye, to actually see, sense, feel things beyond the physical. That allows you and it helps you to basically go within.
Right.
And look deeper, because then you're not looking at anything superficially.
Yeah.
You're going deep to see what the root causes of anything are, or the true blue nature of someone. You can actually sense it through your third eye, through your pineal glands, and it's beautiful. I'm pretty sure you've been doing that.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, I feel a lot more okay with myself too. I think that's part of it is when I really started to embrace that intuitiveness part of it and the sensory part of it and really dive deeper into myself. I think that's really when I started to understand like it's okay to be who I am and I should be, very grateful about, experiencing this life because I feel like each life that we do get is a gift, especially being a human and being able to communicate the way that we do. For you, what was that sort of pivotal moment for you? Obviously, you talked about the 2017 documentary and everything like that, but when did you have to be like, okay, like I have to really evolve? And how scared were you to even go through that? Because there was a chance that you may have lost other relationships that, may have been close to you or may not have been. And I feel like, some of the things that I've heard, through spirituality is it's scary to evolve. It's scary to, dive deep into it because there's a lot that you might realize about yourself even. So how was that for you?
Yes. Wow. That is true to some extent, I would say, because I think I wouldn't say evolving is scary. I would say the process of evolving it can be scary, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Evolving is good. Once you're there, at the next level, when you've learned a lesson and you've crossed it, the doors are closed for that lesson, you've passed the test, it feels great at that moment. And then you just dive deep into, the next cycle of learning that you have to do. It's the whole process of letting go of what you've always known, letting go of your comfort levels, letting go of people, places, things that made you comfortable, and also going through your shadows. Because when you're working on spirit, when you say someone is spiritual, it's very important for them to work on themselves before they work on someone else or, do anything else.
Yes.
So the first person is you yourself. You have to work on yourself, on your individuality, and here I'm not taking this away from, us being a unity consciousness, but for you to be able to contribute to the unity consciousness where everyone is one, we have to look within to see how we can change ourselves and how we can become better human beings, better souls, and evolve. And that actually is not an easy process, and it's not all bells and whistles. It's something, once you dive into it, you're going to go into your shadows. Mm-hmm. And as you allow those shadows to come up, I would say that they never give you more than what you can take.
Right.
Your guides are always around you. So they're always around you, and they'll only allow that much to come up that you can basically heal from, basically. So you do need to understand your shadows, see where they're coming from, your insecurities, what are the things that you're working on, your fears, your traumas. What do you want to change about yourself? What is holding you back? Because as and when you start, acknowledging it, embracing it, healing it, and then letting it go, that spot that trauma or that fear took in your heart or your brain, wherever it was lodged in your system, it becomes of light. And then you can fill it up with something else.
So how do you start that process? And how, because like a lot of people may not even understand their traumas so much because they've buried it so deep.
Right.
And maybe they feel certain ways around certain people, or maybe they react a certain way. How can they start to really understand themselves better, to start that process? Like you said, the shadows and the fear and the traumas that we go through.
Right. It all starts with going within, with introspecting, with meditations, with spending time with yourself, quieting the outer world, your phones, your social media, and just finding time to be by yourself and look within. Really go within and start that journey by quieting your mind. And meditation is key. It really helps in going within, because all of the answers are within our soul. Everything that we're seeking outside of us is actually has been answered by our soul. The knowledge, the wisdom, everything is available. We just need to look within. And meditation is key. It really helps. Meditation is one of the tools that really helps in going within. And as you start quieting your mind, the chitter-chatter that happens in the mind, and you go within, sometimes even without a purpose. You don't necessarily need to say, I'm doing this because I'm seeking something to heal. It just automatically on its own starts coming up as your vibration starts to heal or expand. Anything that is not of light within you starts coming up, and it'll come up as some sort of a hint in your body sometimes. You could have aches and pains. You could have diseases. Again, I would like to say that I'm not a doctor or a professional medical advisor. This is just energetic healing that I'm talking about. So, but, it can come in forms of diseases. It can come in form of blockages that you feel. For me, it was a blockage in my throat chakra where I was afraid to express myself. So it also... I had a lot of tonsillitis growing up. That's a hint. A lot of people tend to have thyroid issues if their throat chakra is blocked. So, and this I've realized with, all of the lessons that we've learned through the various healings that I've done, what the clients have gone through and how they've basically healed it, because they realize that, that particular organ started to give them a hint that there's something wrong and it needs healing within that area, because there was some trauma, some guilt, some pain that they were carrying from a past life, or even childhood abuse sometimes,
Yes.
So that's what it was. And that's how you realize it. For me, since we were also talking about the throat chakra and how I realized it, was because I was just finding it difficult to express myself. That itself showed that it was blocked. And I was not being my true, authentic self. I was hiding my individuality of, who I am, what I stand for, what my thoughts are from people, because I was afraid of judgment.
Yeah. So you don't want to not toe the company line, as they like to say in business.
Correct.
No, and so you said that you started to become more confident or more able to share the ways of which you were feeling. How were you able to unblock that part of it? Was it as simple as being comfortable around, obviously, your husband who helped you with that? Or was it more complicated than that?
It was all about working on myself.
Yeah.
So as I started meditating, I didn't really put it down as a purpose. I didn't know I had problems. I didn't know what I had to heal or what I was going to do. So the reason why I started meditating was just to feel peaceful and just to go within. I didn't know where it was going to take me. But as I was meditating, I would feel my body actually. And I could feel, and most people can do that, areas of blockages. So I would feel a lot of pain in my throat. Okay.
Yeah.
So, then I started asking myself questions, where is this pain coming from? Why do I have this pain? And somewhere along the line, 2017, I started meditating, but 2018, I had started to hear my guides speak with me from the other side. And they started sharing a lot with me as well, which is not just unique to me. It happens with most people. You have your beautiful divine guides. As you also asked me earlier, how did I protect myself as a child? It was my guides that protected me. They were always around me. And this is something that they showed me during dream time after I started to wake up.
Yeah.
They gave me dreams of incidents that happened in my childhood. They took me back and they showed it to me from a different angle, as if I was looking at myself from the sky as an outer perspective. So I was viewing myself, and then I could see the protection around me and the guides that were protecting me through, my life, basically. And that happens with everyone. Everyone's got guides around them.
Yeah. We do. It's just, how do we embrace them, right?
Correct.
Like, and I think, like you said, a huge part of that is meditating. And I think the biggest thing for me that I find with meditating is obviously making sure that you don't have your phone on you. Just putting yourself in as quiet of a place as you can put yourself. But even if you're around like a lot of white noise, for example, like I feel like it's really easy to just hear it and understand that it's there and concentrate and focus on it. And that's, I guess that, would be one of the ways that you would start off meditating, right? Is just like going step by step. Is that what you would say as well?
Yes, I totally agree with that. I also feel that chants helped me a great deal.
Yeah.
So initially, truthfully, when I started meditating, I did, I would listen to Om as a chant.
Yeah.
And there are a few others that I really love. I don't know if you've heard of Rama Dasa.
Yes.
So beautiful.
Yeah.
So
Om
sometimes,
Namah Shivaya as well.
yes, correct.
Yeah.
So, or I would listen to Buddhist chants. By the way, I did find the chants that I was missing. So I'll tell you about that story as well.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. So if you find it difficult to focus within, go within on your own, there's no harm initially when you're starting off to take the help of something that, soothes your heart and that you have comfort in. Could be chants. Or it could be just light music that you want to listen to, someone playing crystal singing bowls, or someone playing the flute. If that helps you, you can do that for a while till, you get comfortable just being by yourself. And sometimes guided meditations help as well. There are a lot of beautiful guided meditations, that you can find on YouTube. They do help with envisioning, if you want to envision something and really help go deep within.
Yeah.
So you could do that too. But eventually it is all about just quieting your mind and just breathing. It's all about breathing.
It's a very transformative process too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like it's something that you may not understand in the moment. Like one of my friends, he actually goes up to a retreat. They call it the Vipassana.
Right.
And I think, it goes on for about 5 or 10 days. And basically all you do every day is meditate. There's no talking. It's just like strict meditation. I think you definitely get a bit of food. Some people choose to fast throughout it, water fasting,
right,
and stuff like that. But anyone who I've talked to that's been to retreats like this or has really started to meditate, they come back with the same thing. Like, I feel like my mind or my brain has transformed and I feel like I understand myself so much better, because I think people often forget that silence can be quite transforming. The act of being able to really look inwards, and you don't have to see in order to do that, right?
Absolutely.
So I think there's a lot that what you said there that I think can really help people, right? Guided meditations or things like that. Is there also such a thing in spirituality or, what you've practiced in terms of meditating with intention, like what you're trying to do?
Yes, eventually. I think that we do get to that stage. It's always best to start off with no intentions, but, perhaps just to connect with yourself, to go within and know yourself at the deepest levels, allow those shadows to come up and start releasing them. Yeah. And then as they release, that emptiness where the shadow sat has to be filled with something. It gets filled with your own DNA codes, your own beautiful higher self, oversoul coming in and integrating even stronger with you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Like what was that in intention for you eventually? Like what did you feel like was the most important to you?
For me, I think I really let go and I decided to do it with no intentions initially for the longest part. I can't say longest part because in 2018 is when I started to hear my guides. So they stepped in pretty soon. I did go on a fast track journey from there. It almost felt like they were waiting for me. There's that snap. Okay, she's up. So let's see what we can do, with her. And so then they started guiding my path, and it happens with a lot of people. Everyone has guides around them. At some point or the other, they, speak with us, and you don't necessarily need to, Jagpreet, listen to them talking to you literally like we're talking right now.
Yeah.
They could actually come through and give you messages in songs.
Yeah.
They could give messages through, anyone. Your parent might say something to you, and that might be a message from God's source or your higher self guiding you.
That's so true.
We just need to remember to be present, in the now.
Yeah.
And the universe is always giving us signals.
Yeah.
And they will always guide us. And the divine guides, the spirit guides, as you like to call them, or your spirit family, they just look for, how you want to receive your messages as well. Sometimes you might just wake up with a song playing in your head for no reason. Just listen to the lyrics of that song because your guide is trying to tell you something.
Yeah. Yeah, well, and I think that's why I think music is so beautiful, because there's so much that one can interpret from any sort of lyrical meaning.
Correct.
For themselves.
Yes.
Right? And I think we often don't talk about this, but I think the biggest power of music, for example, is the ability to listen to something and connect with it on your own level. Connect with it as, I feel this. Yeah. I understand this. I know what this artist might be saying about themselves, but I can also relate it to my situation. And I think that relatability is more spiritual than we think. Understanding that connection and understanding that depth of how we're feeling. I think music is one of the art forms that's connected so spiritually that can express it in such a way that otherwise we wouldn't have. Like, I feel like if we didn't have music, or that thought even scares me altogether. But if we didn't have it,
yes.
I feel like there would be a lot more of us who are lost. And even when you listen to music, I feel like there's a lot of people who are lost souls, but it feeds their soul.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that people can always take, is this is something that feeds my soul, and why is that? Start really asking themselves that question. Yeah. You talked about letting go. And so what was the biggest challenge of letting go of certain things? And was it just as simple as, maybe I just need to dive into the deep end and see how this goes? Or were you just so certain that this is what I want to do, and I'm going to do it, and I just want to evolve, and that's it?
Yes. That is the toughest part, because as humans, we always like to stay in control of everything that's happening in our life.
Yeah. Social connections are so important. Yeah.
Because we have a codependency pattern cycle going on, right?
Yeah.
You're codependent with your parents love you, you love your parents. There's give and take happening there. You love your friends, there's give and take happening there as well.
Yes.
So you're dependent, because if you don't have friends, what are you going to do in school and college when you're free? There's nothing to do, right? So for me, in 2018, I was still working a job. I had a wonderful job downtown. And by then, because my skills, my gifts were activating at that point, and my guides were vocally, speaking with me and giving me a lot of messages, spiritually as well as, symbolic messages. I did ask them, what do I do now? And they said, what am I going to do with this? Like, with all these gifts opening up, what is the purpose of these gifts? And that's when they started reminding me of, my past lives. So they would show me past lives in meditations, dream time. Yeah. And they said, you're meant to use your gifts for healing yourself. And when you're ready, you can start helping others to remember themselves and to start healing. And I said, okay, how are we going to do that? And then they would answer everything. You can begin with crystals, you can do some Reiki. Initially, they did give me a step-by-step process for everything. They did some hand-holding, and eventually they do leave you alone to, figure things out. But by the end of the year, my feeling and my emotions of about Earth, about, souls here, humans, animals, birds, had deepened so much. My connection with Earth, Mother, had deepened so much that I just knew that if I didn't give up my job and do something, completely dedicate myself to that cause, I just felt my life would have been incomplete and not justified. So, Coincidentally not, they did start saying that, this is it. If you like, if you feel comfortable, you can actually leave your job and take this on full time. And I said, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This is Vancouver.
Yeah.
Okay, the
Affordability.
fifth-
Hello.
yeah,
Yeah.
the fifth now, I think the second most
Yeah.
expensive city in the world. And at that time, I did have Jesus, Yeshua, as my guide because they keep switching. There are different guides that come up on their own. And you don't always call, a particular guide, but you can, if you like, you can call them. There are all these divine beings that are there.
Yeah.
And I'm only mentioning his name, not to, anywhere put it out there about, it just being me that's connected to him.
Yeah.
I want everyone to know that each one of you have spirit guides and beautiful ascended masters, your higher selves, God sends, angels, gods, deities that are watching over you individually as well. It's all a matter of just connecting and remembering that.
Yeah.
And for me, I decided to believe in it for a change. I said, I'm not going to doubt myself because they also gave me tangible evidence to what was happening.
Yeah.
So, he said that, it's time for you to, if you're ready, just take the leap. And he would give me visions of me, please don't try this out at home, but me jumping off a cliff and that there was this golden net that would catch me, or I would grow wings and I would fly. And he said, I assure you, we're not going to let you down. We have your back. And so I said to him, so when do you think I'm going to leave? Like, can you give me like a black and white answer? And that's really funny because they never do that, right?
Yeah.
But he actually turned around and he said, by Christmas this year, you'll be out of here.
Wow.
I said, really? Okay. And I forgot about that because we had this conversation in the summer.
Yeah.
And around Christmas, things started working out in my work where I was like, oh my gosh, oh no, I need to do healings. And, I was getting really pulled towards this line of work.
Yeah.
And that's how things worked out. 23rd December was my last day at work. And
Wow.
I loved that workplace. I had some of the best colleagues, the best boss I could have ever dreamt of. So
That's
there's
beautiful.
nothing wrong there. But I just felt drawn to doing my work. And I did explain that to, my manager there as well. And that's it. I took that leap. They gave me the messages in many ways. There would be hoardings that, when I'd be coming back on the SkyTrain, there'd be a hoarding that would say, your train stops now, or this is your stop. This is where you get off. And I was like, okay, I get it. Okay, I'll do it. And that's how it was. I decided to take that leap of faith, and I trusted the universe that if I stayed compassionate and in service to others, and I knew what I was here to do, and I was ready to provide that service, that the universe would have my back and guide me in that.
Yeah. I mean, nature is so powerful itself too.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think we don't give too much credence to nature.
Yes.
But humans are such a huge part of what nature is all about. That's why we use the term human nature, right? And I think nature is so divine. We have so much, in common with even the plants, who, obviously need water to survive and to grow. But they also provide, a food source for animals, right?
Correct.
And, we all need food. We all need to survive. And so we need to eat and we need to drink. But, nature can send us a lot of messages in different ways. Like, oh, you were supposed to go out. Oh, it's raining now. Like,
Correct.
there
Oh
was
my
probably
goodness,
a
yes.
reason why you weren't supposed to go.
Wow.
And my dad told us this story, about how you can't fight against nature. Like there was a story a long time ago where, a Santji was told essentially that by a guide that their end was coming near, that they were going to pass on, and he said, I don't feel like it's time for me to go. But he met this bird, and this bird was saying, well, the storm, because apparently he was going to die by a storm and be eaten by a bear. That was the sort of story. And so the bird was saying, well, the storm is in the south, so I'm going to keep pushing you north. So he took the Sanji, and they were flying north. But the storm just caught up to them. And long before you know it, he got trapped in the storm, lost control, and fled, basically landed and died. He was eaten by a bear.
Yeah.
And so the moral of the story is you can't ever fight against nature, right? And sometimes things happen for a reason that we do not understand today. Like it could be as simple as, hey, I have this like relationship with this person and we just broke up and I don't understand why we just broke up. What is the reason for that? I still don't understand. But then you find out a few years later whether it's something that they went through or something that you went through, whether it's through evolution
Right.
of yourself or themselves, or just when you're on the outside looking in. I mean, sometimes even with relationships, we'll watch like highlight reels instead of the actual
Yeah.
film of what was
Right.
going on,
Yes.
because we're so in it. But then when we're out of that relationship, a few years later, we start to really understand like there was a reason for that not working out. Like there was a reason why we just drew apart and grew apart. And I think I think a lot of people come in our lives for prolonged connections, but a lot of people also come in and out of our lives to teach us something.
Right.
And I think that's one of the beautiful things about being spiritual is kind of understanding that it's okay to let go. It doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. It just means that you have to let go of certain connections to make room for other ones.
Right.
Is that something that you sort of realized through your journey? Like what has been like sort of the biggest lesson for you that you've learned? And also on that note too, like you talked about having that deeper relationship with birds and animals and Mother Earth. What is that like?
Yes. I think we're picking up on each other's thoughts because I wanted to talk about nature and you picked that up as well. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Yes. So that's Mother Earth is our mother.
Yeah.
We inhabit this planet. She is a living, conscious being. She has her chakra system as well. She has the bloods and the veins that we see as the ley lines that we have on Earth, which are pretty much like ley lines are energetic lines, kind of like latitudes and longitudes as we see them in geography. But they actually exist. And, you can feel her pulse through the electromagnetic field that she carries, right? That you can actually, NASA calculates as well every day, the Schumann resonance. So that's my relationship with Mother. That she is my mother, and she's all of our, mothers. She's given us birth and allowed us to live here and inhabit this planet time and again, irrespective of how we've treated her, good, bad, ugly, whether we respected her or not. She allows us in every time with so much love.
Yeah.
And one of the best ways, and we were also talking about, not just spirituality, but, okay, let's keep spirituality aside. If anyone is ever looking for anything to calm themselves down, and if they're in a situation which is really bogging their mind and they want to relax, Mother Nature is the number one being that is going to help them. So just going by, to the ocean side or going for a, hiking, go for a trail, go, take a hike. Choose a trail, see whether you want to connect with the forest or you want to connect with the water essence, which is on the beaches. Whatever works for you, whatever you're getting called to do. And if you can do none of this, then just touch a tree which is in your backyard. Sit with your back towards it. Tree, even scientifically, it's been proven that it heals you and it takes away all your pain, and you receive life force, chi energy through trees because they are a pillar of energy that are coming from the central part of our universe.
That's so true.
So
that's so true.
You were talking about what was the biggest lesson you said?
Yeah, what was the biggest lesson that you've learned? Or something that was so life-defining for you?
I think for me, it was always about letting go.
Yeah.
And knowing that we can't be everywhere. There's a reason, like you said, that people have been a part of our lives. They will come and go. There's a reason for everything. There's no coincidence in this life. And there's always this, initially when I started, I had this urge in me to go and help as many people as I could,
Yeah.
I wish I could tell them that, I can do this, I can help them. Not in a way that made me feel better, because I think my ego mind is something that I almost the only thing that I had to really struggle with my ego was doubts, that it would create within me, but not feeling superior, right? It was only, I was coming from a place of wanting to serve, wanting to help, what can I do to make this person's life better? And then eventually, I was taught by my guides that there are some laws that you have to follow in this universe as well. You can't just go, doing things for people. You have to wait for them to ask you if they need your help.
Yeah.
Right? There is no savior here. There's no savior mentality. There's going to be a messiah or a savior who's going to come and save us. We are our saviors. We have to save our souls, And then, of course, we have each other as, companions and whoever's going to come on our path to help us. So that was one of the lessons that I had to learn, to let go and know that whatever I'm meant to do, whatever is cut out for me to do in terms of my organic path, I'll be shown that path.
Yeah.
And that timelines have to be closed and you have to move on. Also, one equivalent to that would be karmic lessons.
Yeah.
So that's another big piece that we all go through because, we are here on earth, we, reincarnate in different lifetimes. So we actually carry karmic bonds, karmic contracts, cords, connections that we are carrying, and also patterns that follow us.
Right.
So to come out of the patterns that are not of the, highest love and have been keeping us down life after life because it becomes a pattern. That's the reason why it's called that. So, for example, if someone's been suppressing you in all your lives for whatever reason, the person was in a position to do so, somehow that pattern keeps repeating in lifetimes till you learn to acknowledge it and understand how you can bring, expand your own knowing, your own wisdom, and, feel that power from within to say no and put an end to that life cycle, that karmic cycle. So ending of karmic cycles is a big lesson that I learned, and it's very, very liberating once you start working on that, because you can actually heal not just yourself, you can heal your ancestral lineage and ancestral patterns with that.
Yeah. No, I remember this situation that I was in like last year, and someone tried to take something of mine that wasn't theirs, and I had to put my foot down. And for me, one of the biggest things I used to struggle with was boundaries, right? And so, like you said, I think it's about saying no, and it's about having a conversation and standing up for yourself that you feel so liberated after, right? That you protected something that it was yours.
Correct.
But also, something that was very powerful to me was how I just felt like the weight was just lifted off of my shoulders, right? Because we do carry a lot of that burden that we don't see physically, but it's so it's so much prominent in the sort of things that we experience emotionally, right? And I think that there's a lot of beauty in what you said there, that it's the karmic cycles, or even just learning how to say no to those patterns, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
What was that sort of pattern for you, like that you felt like was the most challenging to get out of?
For me, I think it was dependency.
Yeah.
Depending on others, waiting for confirmations from others for things that are personal to me. So, for example, I would look outwardly to, look up to people, thinking that they can actually solve my problems or give me answers to my problem. And what happens is when you do that, it's a wonderful situation to be in, and it's a wonderful cycle to break. It teaches you a lot because you learn self-reliance. You learn to believe in yourself and accept that you have the answers from, within you. You just need to tap into that, because only you can break your own ancestral lineage curses or, patterns that are following. It could be, financial losses. It could be even a disease that's just going through relationship issues. I mean, so many people that come in that have, for example, this is a hypothetical example, but it happens a lot, like a mother-daughter relationship issue. The daughter has a problem with her mother, trust issues, a lot of control issues, and then the mother also had the same with her mother, and so it's a pattern that was going on in their family.
Yeah, so it's like generational trauma almost.
It's correct, absolutely. So it's generational trauma, and there's always that one person, at least one person, there could be many within each family that are meant to break those generational curses and to break that ancestral pattern.
Yeah.
So for me, it was believing in myself and remembering who I am, and to basically stand up for myself, pretty much create the boundaries that you yourself just shared right now. That was a very powerful lesson that I learned, to really believe in myself.
Yeah, no, I think that's so beautiful that, you were able to really turn that into something, and you said there's always, generationally or down the line, there is a person who does come in and
Correct.
Has that spiritual connection, right off the bat. Like, is that something that you've seen within your own family as well, like in terms of those spiritual connections being there, but maybe them not realizing it?
Yes, for sure. We've had quite a few, I would say, ball bearers, torch bearers that have done it.
Yeah.
I do recognize them when I look back, because for me, all of my last year was dedicated to, I did not make that intention, but somehow the cycles also pick up like that. Your spirit guides bring to you when you're ready for it.
Yeah.
Was breaking karmic patterns for the family lineage,
Right.
and healing yourself, and then passing on the healing to ancestral lineage. So I did actually work with my ancestors who are not in this physical realm anymore, and they started to show up as my guides as they started healing as well. And I am aware of others within my family lineage that are already doing it.
Yeah.
Some of them are aware of it and some are not.
Yeah.
Which is okay, and which is again something that what was the point? There's something that's coming to my mind right now that I wanted to talk about. When we talk about spirituality, and it's connected to this question that you've asked, Jugpreet. I feel that even when we say someone is spiritual, or this is spirituality, it's like labeling something, right?
Yeah.
Although it's just another aspect of, connecting with God's source energy, connecting with your own energy, connecting with your higher self and oversoul. But there are so many people who may not be connected to the label and are unaware that they are spiritual.
Yeah.
And spirituality is not about just meditating or, playing the crystal singing bowls or going for retreats. There are so many people that I know that are spiritually awake and beautiful, conscious beings that are IT engineers. They're working for big firms.
Yeah.
And at the same time, they're also working on themselves.
Yeah.
And again, doing the same healing for themselves, for their family lineage, even though they are pretty left-brained in the sense that they've taken on a career which is connected to logics, right? And IT, again, which is, again, AI.
Yeah.
But they are so deeply connected with their higher selves and oversoul, you don't necessarily need to be, what would you say?
Labeled
like a typical
as that.
label.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that actually brings up a really interesting question for me, because I've always thought about this. And I've always felt like there's a lot of people in my life who are spiritual. So, like, what are the signs of that for you? Like, maybe they don't think of it that way for themselves, but how do they unintentionally practice it?
In their everyday life, in how their consciousness emanates from them. You can totally just feel it from how they feel towards children, how they feel towards animals.
What they do, I guess.
Correct.
Yeah.
Are they, how compassionate they are towards people, things, places, situations, circumstances that other people are not even looking at or taking a stand for.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. They don't need to meditate. They don't need to chant, as long as they're connected with that God source energy and their highest self over soul, in the benevolence of who they are as beautiful human beings, which we are human beings in this lifetime, but we are beyond being human beings as well. We are greater souls than that.
Yeah.
This human life is something that we're experiencing at a soul level. But that's how I know it. Just feeling the energies of how beautiful they are as a soul and their contribution to the unity consciousness of Earth.
Can spirituality and faith coexist?
Absolutely. And it does in so many people. So religious people could be spiritual. Spiritual people can also be religious.
Are religious people automatically spiritual, or is that connected, or like how does that work?
Okay, so this is a little bit controversial. So I'll just share how I feel about this.
Yeah.
So religion, coming to think of religion, why was it created, right? Why do we have so many religions when, we are one unity consciousness? So we did land up taking births in different parts of Earth, right?
Yeah.
And knowing the reincarnation cycles, we don't just reincarnate in a particular country or culture or race or religion each time, right?
Right.
What's the purpose of a soul that would do that?
Yeah.
Why would you want to be born only as a Hindu or, a Christian or, in Islam each time?
Yeah.
Your soul is here to learn and expand. And to learn and expand, you need to be able to experience, the vastness of creation. And that is unlimited. So I think what people don't realize is all of the religions are teaching the same thing. They're talking about love. Jesus talks about love. Krishna talks about love, right?
Yeah. That's like one common thing throughout. Yeah.
It is love. It is care. It is compassion for others, not just for yourself. Of course, you have to be compassionate towards yourself.
Yeah.
So, religion was created with the mind, I feel, or with the thought. The thought behind religion was to bring a connection between God source and the humans that were living here, and humans to remember God source energy that they came from.
Yeah.
But somewhere along the line in, the scriptures, it's the interpretation of the scriptures that causes the problem.
Yes.
Because each person reads it and interprets it as per their own consciousness level.
Right. Or relies on other people to do that for
Other
them.
people to do that, or you have a problem, you just read these mantras and you'll feel better. Yes, it'll make you feel better in the sense that you will start to, release some of the negativity or darkness that is within you. But until and unless you really do that deep soul searching and finding out why you're feeling a certain way and what is the change that you need to bring in within yourself to really, truly be wholly, truly yourself, your divine higher self level.
Yeah.
It's not going to take people to places, you know? So eventually the soul searching is an important and integral part of the journey.
And I think too, I think you bring up something really interesting there, because even for us who are religious, we are still spiritual, in my view, because when we go, for example, for us, we come from myself, I come from a Sikh family.
Right.
So we go to the Gurdwara Sahib and we'll listen to Kirtan, or there'll be Path going on, you know what I mean? And so with that prayer and with everything, we're actually taking all of that in.
Yes.
Now, how much can we process it is completely, how, we're in the moment, how much we're in the moment, I should say, when it comes to that. And I think that's really beautiful. I mean, the way you worded it, that we're all coming back in sort of different, whether it's a different religion or different things, but, that we're still looking to that higher energy, and I think that's a really beautiful way to sort of look at it, right? Do you think that now with spirituality and all of those things, that we can find that connection again, with the world? And how can we do that? Because I feel like a lot of our world right now is so divided that we have, so much that we keep within us that we don't actually, I think part of it is that we're scared to evolve, but also part of it is that we overlook those things because we feel like they're too good to be true, or we feel like it might be really dumb to hear the voices inside of our head. Why do you feel like the world is so disconnected, and how can we bring that connection back?
I think the biggest problem with what is happening in our world and the chaos that has been created right now is that people are disconnected with themselves.
Yes.
People are not connecting with themselves and feeling their hearts and seeing what they want in this life, rather than them just herding up together and forming groups and then, just following, whatever the head of the group is teaching them to do, basically. I think the answer lies in going within and connecting with that love source energy, because we need to connect with love. We need to feel that love within ourselves, and then also feel that love for everyone around us, irrespective of, where they come from, what country they're from, what religion they're from. If the cries of children or, anyone that is suffering, going through challenges from another part of the world, doesn't make our soul cry like it's our own personal cry or our own children crying, then that means there's something seriously wrong with our inner being and that we are disconnected. And it's time that we go within and ask ourselves those hard questions as to when that disconnection happened. When did that really happen, that someone is suffering and we're okay with it because it's a different country, who cares? Or I don't believe in the religion of that country.
Yeah.
Pain is pain. And having done so many past life regression sessions now, with clients, and having remembered my own experiences as well, we're born in different parts of the world, and some of our family members are still in different parts of the world.
Yeah.
I might be in India right now. I might have relatives who used to be my relatives, or someone I loved who's now in UK or Europe. And if something happens there, it doesn't bother me. My soul's forgotten that someone I loved still lives there. So just remembering that, as they've always taught us, when we used to, growing up, we were taught about how we are all brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
That is a fact. We shouldn't forget that we're actually coming from the same God source energy.
Yeah.
And we're probably also walking in different vessels, because, each one of us has, this is another topic altogether. Maybe we'll discuss it another time.
Yeah.
Each one of us has other versions of us existing here at the same time.
Yeah.
So there are other Jugpreets here. They could be anywhere in the world. So it's all about, connecting with yourself and remembering that the other person is also you in a way, because you're connected to the higher consciousness together.
Yeah. No, I think you really summed that up so perfectly, to really end off this episode. And one of the things that I would say too is that we often look so much at social media to understand who we are, but understand the group that we're a part of, instead of actually understanding it for ourselves. We let influencers do it. We're letting leaders, political leaders around the world decide, what we should be upset about, what we shouldn't be upset about. And I think that spiritually, I think that really takes us away from ourselves, right? Because there's a lot more questions left unanswered in our minds, because even though we know that maybe there's a part of what someone is saying that may not be true, when we go on social media, that's all we see. Is we see like these conflicting videos and these sort of vile depictions of a certain religion, for example, whereas we have to live in our own experience and really talk to people outside of our own communities to really understand what they're like. And it doesn't just come from talking to that one person, right? It comes, from talking to a group of people, and what their faith is actually like, And I think that that's when we start to learn a lot about how we're not that much different from each other, that we may pray differently, that we may read, different holy books, or we may, have different customs and different traditions and all of those things. But that also doesn't mean that we aren't the same in terms of what we're looking for, the connections that we're trying to make, how we show that love. Like, we had people of different faith who used to live in this basement for 13, 14 years. And, and they fed us so well. We had like these community events that we did, and, they would always give us food and we would always give them food. Like, and regardless of our religions, like that never should matter. What should matter, like you said, is that we're all brothers and sisters, that we're all trying to find those important connections. And I think finding those connections doesn't necessarily mean that we stay in our own bubbles and hope that we can make connections from those, because oftentimes we're still facing those uncomfortable questions, because we don't often think for ourselves, and we don't often get the information for ourselves. We let other people do it's like when you go to school,
Yeah.
You're you're encouraged to do your own work, instead of plagiarizing, because plagiarizing doesn't really teach you anything, right?
Right.
And so right now, I think in some way we're plagiarizing, in our heads, and we're letting other people do the work for us. And I think sometimes anger and violence sell so much, that I think we get so distracted by all of those things, because that's becomes such a stimulant for us. Where you're absolutely right when you say that looking inwards, like, us starting to look inwards is really going to help us understand ourselves at such a level, that we may not have been able to understand before. And then that actually helps us open up to other people. That actually helps us understand what other people are like. And, is there anything you wanted to say in terms of final words, something that we haven't touched on yet, but just a message that you also wanted to leave off with for everybody that's watching it, in terms of discovering their spiritual selves, or anything that you wanted to say?
I'm just taking in everything that you just said right now. I think that you beautifully summed up, our conversation today. And it's really beautiful because I do believe, similar to what you're saying as well, that heart discernment is key. And it's only when we start clearing our heart and what's inside of us, letting go and releasing all of the programming, traumas, that we've been dealing with, from all lifetimes, that we can actually make way for our heart to truly show itself. And that's when you'll be able to actually heart discern situations, people, relationships, and it will really help you to have the most beautiful organic timelines, for yourself, for your family, for, people around you. And we live in such a wonderful place. Jugpreet, it's beautiful that you share this example as well. And I've personally felt so much love from other communities, people of other faith, where we've looked after each other. We've looked after each other's children.
Yeah.
When I was expecting my baby, I had women from other faith. They would just line up at my doorstep saying, "We made this food for you," because sometimes you don't feel like cooking for yourself. Or some of them would say, "We'll walk your children from school if you're tired." It was just so beautiful. We had such a beautiful bond, over just love and compassion and understanding that as women, we understood each other. So it's time that we go back to that, go back to how our ancestors lived, where they loved each other. There was no division, everyone, all they thought of was love and compassion. And what can we do for our neighbors? How can we help them? How can we help their children?
Yeah.
So it's time that we go back to our roots.
Well, it's time that we embrace humanity, as opposed to just embracing someone who is similar to us.
Correct.
I think the color of skin or the ethnicity should not matter. I think what should matter, like, you and I have both said, is what we have in common, and start building with that. You might have fundamental disagreements on issues. We all do, right? But it's finding that common ground of being able to agree on something and building that, right? Yes. It's like, you're not just going to start building a condo by building from up to down, right? It's like, you're always going to find that sort of common place where you can start first. And that's where we need to start actually doing that within our own relationships.
Yes.
Whether it's arguments, whether it's things like that. Minnie Didi, I appreciate you so much for being on this episode. I think this is a really great beginning to what's going to be such an amazing chapter, and this new revamped studio as well. And, to have you as, the very first guest in that sort of setting, like, I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you, and I appreciate the whole family. And, I think there's a lot of insight that people will get out of this. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so much, Jugpreet. I just want to thank you for the beautiful soul that you are, and the love and light that you bring to this world with your energy, with your soul, with your music. It is very heart expanding and expansive and really helps people wake up. And I think that is your beautiful way of serving your purpose in using sound alchemy and the energy of sound and music to wake people up and to heal people and activate them. But other than that, on a personal level as well, I know you. Thank you so much for everything that you do for creation. I love you. You're absolutely beautiful. And it is my honor to be here today. Thank you for inviting
So
me.
kind of you, and love you as well, Divya.
Blessings to you.
Thank you so much. And that'll be it for us, everyone. So good morning, good afternoon, and good night to whenever you're listening to this. On behalf of our whole team here at Rhythm and Remedy, we thank you for all of your support, and we will see you next time with another beautiful episode. Cheers.
The time has come to share your thoughts, relive your moments, open up your heart with one and only Rhythm and Remedy.